Hi guys, it's Michelle here from Walkingtwobytwo and we're up to episode number 4. We're going to talk about rice and pasta. So rice is very popular to take out on the trail, along with pasta, couscous, mashed potatoes. They're very versatile to use, even though they don't have a whole lot of nutrients in them, but they do offer you some carbohydrates to help with the energy along the way. I like to do a lot of pasta dishes. I love my Italian dishes, especially out on the trail. I don't use a lot of durum wheat though. In this video, I will show you some alternatives, especially for those of you who are gluten-free, find that the pastas don't sit well in their stomach. There's a lot of variety out there to explore. If you're enjoying the series so far, that's fantastic. Give us a thumbs up, put a comment below, and also press that subscribe button. To share some of your favourite recipes that you like to take out on the trail, pop them in the comments below. A future episode that I will have will be creating some of your favourite recipes to share with everybody else. So we're talking about different carbs on the trail. Now, there are so many to actually choose from, surprisingly. It's not just the typical rice and pasta or potatoes that you would have. You can get carbs in so many different forms. We're actually going to dehydrate some pasta, which is kale, quinoa, and brown rice. Now, this is a gluten-free one. You can buy so many different types of pastas out there in the supermarket. Just get creative and have a look and see what you can find. We're also going to look at making some different dehydrated mixes to take out onto the trail. Now, this is just a simple vegetarian one that I would take out, and I would also add some spices, some flavouring mix to that, and it makes a really delicious meal that literally takes minutes to cook. Particular pasta here in the middle is actually egg noodle pasta, and I find it works really well out on the trail as it really rehydrates quickly. So sometimes I use that. I don't have a whole lot of it because myself personally, the pasta doesn't sit very well in my stomach. So I tend to find other pastas, like this one here is a rice pasta. Again, it cooks super, super quick out there. It's very, very yummy. Rice is another thing that I have a lot of. I have rice with my breakfast, as well as dinner time, and sometimes even at lunchtime. This is risotto rice, which I often cook up for my risotto dishes. You will find a few in my book Feed the Hike, and later on in the series we'll do some risotto recipes. Another really good thing to take out that a lot of people like is couscous. Those who know me know that I don't really like couscous myself that much. But I do have it occasionally. When you're out on a trail for weeks, even months on end, you do need to have variety in your food. You don't want to just keep eating the same thing day in, day out. And I do see a lot of people just eating couscous their whole way. I personally would find that revolting. Now, I'm not brand sponsored by any means, but I will say this particular brand I have had, and it's great. Ainsley's couscous packets are really good. Like this one here is a wild mushroom with porcini, garlic and ground black pepper. Oh, yum. It's not the couscous that gets me excited, it's the porcini, the garlic, the black pepper in there. That just sounds really delightful, and I would probably incline to add a few extra things to it. This one here is a yummy apple, sunflower seed, cumin and mint, which sounds very refreshing, and you will find one very similar to this in my recipe book, and it's couscous with raisins and cranberries, lime and lemon zest through it, almonds, parsley, mint. It's just really quite a refreshing salad to have on the trail when you don't really want to have hot food. You might want to have cooler food, so you'll find that in my book. But these, again, you know, these are great. They're ready in 3 minutes. You just add boiling water. They don't weigh a whole lot at all. It's 100 grams. That's 100 grams for a meal. I tend to try to make my food around the 100 gram mark if possible, where possible, or less, because when you're carrying a lot of days worth of food, you really don't want to carry a whole lot of weight. So yeah, so do try these ones. If you're a couscous fan, do try these ones. These are actually okay, not too bad. I would recommend those. Not something though that I would eat all the time. Okay, so with this one, as you can see, I've got mushrooms, tomatoes, parsley, shallots, a little bit of red onion, spinach, capsicum, lots of yummies in there. And what I'm going to do, like I often would just throw it, I'd make it up as I go along, to be honest. I haven't measured any of this. I just go eyeball it to what I think would look good, what would taste good. It's usually the way I do it. So there's a meal that would be good for me for my dinner, but I wouldn't have it just like that. Now that would just be plain. Yeah, you'd have these flavors of the food, which is nice, but you need to add a little bit more. So I would probably add, make it more tomatoey. Now this is a tomato powder that I've made up myself, and we will do a video in the future on making your own tomato paste powder. I think you should be able to buy it in the stores. I used to buy it, but I like to make my own. So yeah, so we'll do a video on that later. Let's just go a teaspoon. That should be nice. Oh, a little bit more. Why not? See, I'm not very good at measuring. And I decided that I'd also do some garlic powder, which I dehydrated again myself. Some salt, it's rock salt, but it's with some truffles in it. I'm a bit of a truffle freak. A bit of veggie stock and some pepper. So let's just chuck that in there. I haven't measured it, so you just, if you want to follow this recipe, go for it and see what you think. And I think I'll add one more thing, maybe some tarragon. That might actually be quite nice. Why not? A little bit of Italian, a little bit of French, why not? Actually smells really good. Oh yeah, I think I'm going to enjoy that one. So I would zip that up, make sure I get as much air out of it as I can. You can vacuum seal this if you would prefer. I've never had an issue with just putting them in zippy bags, and I've prepared up to 6 months in advance, so I wouldn't be too fussed. But if you are concerned about the storage of it, sure, go ahead, put it in a vac seal. I have a vac seal, but I kind of stopped using it after a while. I just didn't see the point in it. So there's a meal. We'll weigh that. Let's just weigh that and just see out of curiosity, because I know there's a lot of you out there that are weight conscious, and fair enough. Especially when you're out for a long period of time, you do have to consider the weight that you carry. I'm not a minimalist by any means. I've never claimed to be, but I do be aware of how much I'm carrying. There you go, 53 grams. So I think that's pretty good for a meal. Some of you might look at that and go, oh, but that's not enough if you need to eat more. I will tell you, I don't eat a whole lot. And I believe that the reason behind that is because I give my body a lot of nutrients while I'm hiking, so my body isn't craving food all the time. Whereas when you bulk up and eat a lot of empty carbs, your body is still hungry. It's still hungry because it's looking for nutrients. And I truly believe that that's why some people just seem to want to keep eating and eating and eating and eating, is because they're just not giving their body the food that it needs. So that's my theory. Could be wrong. There could be another theory for it. But I find that because I feed my body the food it needs, I don't tend to have to eat tons and tons of food constantly. In saying that, I do get times that I am super, super hungry, and that's when I stop and think, okay, I am not feeding myself enough nutrients to continue. So I need to change what I'm eating and start adding more nutrients. So this would typically be a meal that I would have out on the trail at night, and I would feel very satisfied after eating that. Today we're going to dehydrate pasta, and we're going to dehydrate rice. This pasta that I'm dehydrating here is actually kale, quinoa and brown rice pasta. Now you're probably thinking, why are you pre-cooking it when it is already dehydrated pasta? The reason is, and I've said this before and I'll just say it all the time, is that when you pre-cook your pasta or your rice and then rehydrate it on the trail, it's a lot quicker. With the rice, I've got it on the mesh tray, and that way when it dehydrates and it obviously will go smaller, I don't want it to go through the cracks and then dirty up the bottom of my dehydrator. So if you don't have a mesh tray, just use parchment paper. It works the same. Now if you were going to cook something like this, egg pasta, like a bird's nest, I don't pre-cook this and then dehydrate it, because it literally takes minutes to cook when you're out on the trail. And I break it up. I don't leave it as a bird's nest. I break it up into lots of little pieces like this, and it literally takes minutes. So I wouldn't fuss with doing this one. I was at the shop, I came across a new product. I'm always looking for new products, and I found this one, and it's just quinoa and brown rice, and as you can see, it's already pre-cooked. It weighs 250 grams. You can chuck it into the microwave. It's a soft one, so you know, I don't normally, I wouldn't take this as itself out onto the trail. It says, you know, put it in the microwave, cook it for 90 seconds. Yeah, that doesn't appeal to me at all. But what I am going to try to do, and let's see if how this goes. I'm going to open up this packet. Now I've never tried this before, but we're going to give it a go. For those who don't want to cook rice, or you can find there was actually many different types in the supermarket. So if this one works, and it was really, really cheap, if this one works, I'll probably try it again at some point, but it might not be as good because the rice looks like it's really well cooked. So it might come up soggy. I don't like soggy rice. So I don't have another mesh tray, so I'm just using parchment paper. And let's dehydrate some of this and see how that goes. I mean, it looks good. Can you imagine sticking a whole pile of veggies with that? Alright, so make sure it's spread out. I wouldn't put this whole packet on there. I probably have to do 2 trays, I think. Make sure it's really spread out so that the air gets to it. So let's see if this experiment works. Wow, doesn't that look great? Here is the rice with the quinoa. It looks like it's worked out just perfect, absolutely perfect. I'm really happy with that. I've let this cool down, so now I can package this up and store it so that it'll be ready for when I need it to make a meal on the trail. So the rice is done as well. You know it's done when you can crunch it and you're not getting any moisture at all out of it. So that is just absolutely perfect. Here's our pasta. It is completely dry. And again, you can store this away in an airtight container and keep it in the cupboard. Do something with our quinoa and brown rice that we dehydrated, if you remember from the packet. It's all dehydrated. I'm going to just make something up as I go along. Basically, I stood here and looked at it and went, okay, what am I going to put with it? What does it say that wants? Well, chicken is a good start. There's 25 grams of dehydrated chicken. That's 25 grams after it's dehydrated. We will have an episode on dehydrating meat and the best way to go about it. Here we have some spices. I got some paprika, some dehydrated garlic, some salt. We have some chicken stock and some pepper. So not too much. Let's just keep it relatively simple. And here I have some dehydrated red onion, some red capsicum, some spinach, some cherry tomatoes, and some asparagus. Now this is about half a cup of dehydrated, which for me is more than enough. Again, I will just keep saying it, that it might not be enough for you. If you need to eat more than that, then just add more. It's not hard. So let's just put it together. Oh, that was a quick save. All veggies bar spinach. And that is because spinach takes literally a second to rehydrate. So we'll put that in at the end. The rest pretty well rehydrates on the same amount of time. So I would just throw it all in one go. And all that. Okay, so the best thing to do with that is pop your spinach in there. Pop it in there. Now remember to take that out before you reheat all that. Close it up. Now let's weigh it and see what that weighs for those of you who are weight conscious. perfect 96 grams.